Alrighty guys, welcome back to another episode of the Modern Detailer's Handbook. If you have followed along this far, that must mean that you might be starting to believe in everything that I'm putting out, and maybe, just maybe, you're thinking, okay, this guy's not just out here bullshitting, he's not just trying to take my money, because I'm not. I'm just trying to make people happy. I'm trying to make everybody have a better time out here. So, I did go on Facebook, and I made a quick poll. I put 4 options on there. I don't remember all the options, but I do remember which one got chosen. And the one that got chosen is the title of this video. It is how do I speed up my detailing process? And I think every single thing that I'm going to touch on today is going to be things that everybody else might have done or might have tried, but they might just not have continued to hone it in and just, continuously, what can I do better than I did yesterday kind of thing. But I don't want to take up too much time. Like, it's pretty obvious, and obviously if you're here, it's because you want to save more time. So let's just get right into it. Number one, right off the bat, I think is going to be to create a system for your detailing process. And this is going to vary. Like, there is no system to streamline anybody's business unless everybody starts from the same place. And not everybody starts from the same place. Some people start from different places. Some people get better equipment when they begin and start out with. Some people get, just bare minimum stuff. And the people that start out with bare minimum stuff are usually like young teenagers, young adults, or even full-grown adults that might have just been getting somebody who gifted it to them, and they're just like, trying to start thinking about the fact that they might be able to do better for themselves. And that's how I see it. Like, you have really good equipment, you have average equipment, and then you have like the not necessarily messed up equipment or anything like that, but it's like the people that are really starting from like the hand-me-downs and from all that stuff, because everybody starts from a different place in a different position in their life, and everything's okay. There's nothing wrong with any of it, but you definitely have to be very, very considerate of the fact that everybody starts at that point. And that's why I clarified that very well, because everybody's at a different place in their life at different points and different ages, you know what I mean? So it makes me really sad seeing a couple of detailing groups every once in a while. They're like, everybody's bashing everybody else for the dumbest things, detailing technique or the way that a detail looks. And it's like, okay, yeah, you can bash them for the way that it looks, or you can explain to them why the way that it looks, it's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily an indicator of something positive. That I should never understood why somebody couldn't just say, hey man, like, I've been there. I thought the really shiny tires were gonna be amazing, and it was like the best thing ever. But I didn't know about, X, Y, and Z, the slinging, the dust getting, or the dirt getting stuck up to it, and the fact that it falls off whenever it rubs up against things, shit like that. Maybe that's kind of, because I've seen that where it's like somebody uses a really glossy tire shine that's obviously, what do you call it, oil-based, and not solvent. Yeah, I guess that would be the right word, I guess solvent-based. But they'll just make the tire super glossy, super shiny, and if you're a little more experienced, you know that anything that uses oil, that's oil-based, is going to stick to dirt, and if you don't wipe it off, it's very likely to slang, which means that it'll get all over the paint and it'll get everything else. So you'll have the product slanging over the paint, and then the dirt that gets kicked up getting stuck on that paint. And instead of telling him, what to do properly, they would go out there and just bash him for it and tell him like, oh yeah, man, it's gonna look like a mud cake in a couple of days. And it's like, man, what's the point? How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to get anything from that? Like, yeah, maybe it'll look like a mud cake, but does he know why? Does he know why he's not supposed to use the product? No, he doesn't. So yeah, I just want everybody to have value on top of that. Well, okay, number 2, don't double back. Okay, and I guess this is why you don't do it, but if you start doubling back, you're gonna keep checking on things that you can just go back and check at the very end of the job. Does that make any sense? Like, I was about to start reiterating or regurgitating part of number 1 because I didn't feel like I finished it off properly, but I think that I got my point across, so I'm just gonna move on to continue saying what I was doing in number 2. And for me, what this means is just like, for example, whenever you're doing a vacuum, if you have a certain process that you follow for vacuuming, or say, for example, if you know for sure that you vacuum all the way and then you wipe everything down and you come vacuum one more time, don't sit there and keep going back to one spot that you've already vacuumed because you think you can make it a little bit better. Because if you're going to vacuum once more in the low end, like on the back end, then it's not gonna matter. And I like to vacuum on the back end. I was gonna say I always vacuum on the back end, but I don't. But I do like it, and I started applying it more and more often because there is things that get inside the cars whenever you're detailing them while you're doing the process. So getting that extra vacuum at the very end actually makes it so much more satisfying at the end of the day. But I don't double back. So if I start at I like to start at the driver's seat because I like to start hardest thing first. So if I do the driver's seat, which has the most amount of detail, like the doors, steering wheel, and do the radio and all that stuff, when I'm doing the driver's seat, then everything else, it just flies by. So I'll spend a good 20 to 30 minutes minimum on the driver's seat, and then I'll move on to everything else, and that's whenever I'm wiping it down. Whenever it comes to vacuuming, the driver's seat is usually the one that needs the most vacuuming because it's the one that's regularly trafficked. You can't move a car if you're not driving it, obviously. So I do definitely take my time whenever I'm vacuuming that front area. But if I estimate that there's no way for the car to look good unless I take, at least an hour and a half to vacuum it, then I'm going to add on an extra charge. That's whenever I start on adding on dirty fees. If I know that I'm going to go, say for example, beyond 4 hours on like a large SUV or a large truck, a large pickup, then I'm going to charge extra money because that's already quite a bit of time. And if I'm going beyond like 2.5 to 3 hours on like a 2-door or 4-door car, maybe even a 2-door or a 2-row SUV, then I'm still gonna charge extra on those because I can't lose the time difference on them. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's one thing you don't know back. So when you vacuum a spot, you have to vacuum, and if you wipe next while you're vacuuming, then go ahead and wipe down and then move on. Don't sit there and try to figure out what can I do better if you're going to vacuum again at the end. Okay, don't double back, keep on moving forward. Number 3, and this is something that's very counterintuitive for most people, and that was counterintuitive for me whenever I first started, is to spray your chemicals from the bottom first. Now, that sounds so stupid, and a lot of people are going to be thinking about me like, are probably going to be looking at me like I'm crazy. Why are you saying to spray from the bottom first? And here's the thing. I always thought you sprayed chemicals from the top first, right? Because then any leftover material that's trickling down can just, get onto more dirty shit. That way you're not wasting any of the chemical. So I thought that was the best way to do it. However, apparently it's not. Because whenever you spray a cleaning chemical on, just like whenever you put foam on, like in a foam cannon, and then you put it on the car, what it's actually supposed to do is it's supposed to grab onto whatever particles it's supposed to clean on, and it's supposed to separate them from the surface that it's supposed to clean them. So if it's just dripping past a certain like dirty spot, let's say for example, it's clean down here, and it's dirty both bottom and up top, right? And then I start spraying from the top, and all of this grime over here gets the full contact, everything gets spread out properly, so it all starts falling down. But then everything that's coming over here, it doesn't get the full contact because the drips are actually carrying the water that you're spraying on top down. And I'm gonna have to draw this out somehow. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to put a diagram in the video or something, but I do want to draw it out. That way so you guys can see whatever I'm saying. And what that does actually is it makes it harder for you to clean the parts that are lower on the bottom of the vehicle because the chemical is not grabbing onto the dirt the way that it should. And it therefore doesn't pull it off of the material the way that you want it to. And you can clean off the top, and the top looks really good, but whenever you get to the bottom parts, those bottom parts are not going to be very, very touched by the chemical. So you always spray chemical from the bottom first. That's whenever you're spraying, tire cleaner, wheel and tire cleaner, whenever you're spraying degreaser. If you're doing interior, you can spray from the bottom to the top. I don't think it makes as much of a difference on the interior, but you do want to clean the top of the interior first before you continue going to that side. So I think in that aspect, what I would do is if I was looking at the dashboard in front of me, I would spray the front of the dashboard right here and then spray upwards towards where the glass is at. And then I would clean back from the glass towards me after going through over it with a detail brush or with a torn door or something like that and make it all nice and easy. And Yeah, so that was number three. Just spray any chemical on from the bottom to the top, and then rinse from top to bottom. I think, yeah, that was my next one. So number four, rinse from top to bottom, and whenever you're rinsing, always start from the top. And the reason for this is because if you have a vehicle that has mud on it, you don't want to spray it from the bottom and that mud splatters, one, all over you, but two, back all over the top of the vehicle. You know, so that's what you really don't want. You don't want to be spraying a vehicle and the entire time you're spraying it, you're just spraying everything back onto the top of it. Does that make any sense? So whenever you are spraying dirt or doing the rinse cycle, the first rinse cycle of a detail, what you want to do is you want to make sure that everything comes off of the top, and then you can trickle all the way down. That way everything comes off smoothly and you can get under the grime that's on the top, you know. But it also allows the water flow to, whenever the water is slowing down, it picks up any of that extra dirt that's already loose and makes it trickle down to the bottom of the car. And it'll start trickling down. You'll be able to see if it's still clean, if it's still dirty, or if it's not clean yet, which I guess are the same thing. Anyways, number five, you clean up during safe space or safe time. And what I mean by this is, I was mobile, and I know a lot of people that are going to be doing this are going to be mobile or are currently mobile. And if you work in a place that's hot, like if you work in Texas, you work in Arizona, I don't know how hot it gets in Colorado, but I mean, it's kind of close to this area, so I figured you might get 80 or 90 degree days sometimes as well. But I mean, California, all those places that get extremely hot, you know that we have very little time between when a chemical goes on and whenever we spray something off. However, or even whenever we are facing like full high temperature degree days, we have problems leaving water on glass, because then that makes it harder to get that cleaned up. It's a whole different thing. I mean, it's hard to explain it for somebody who works in a place that doesn't get quite as hot. Like if we work in Florida, where it's like the majority of the time it's 80 degrees, by my understanding, because that's how I understand tropical weather. California and Florida, I believe, are very similar. California usually has like 85 degree days, but there's parts of it that go up way higher whenever you get closer to Arizona, to the desert areas. Anyways, so yeah, no, during your safe time. So say for example, if you just finished detailing a vehicle and you are doing it during 83 degree day, there's not much sun outside, or even if like during a 90 degree day, if you have clouds, those clouds will help you to where you can just put up your stuff while the water is just kind of dripping off of the vehicle, and then you can come back with your blow dryer if you use one, which you should, and blow all the excess water off the vehicle and come back and clean it all up and make sure that it's all good. But you use the time that you didn't need to put towards cleaning anything, and the vehicle can basically air dry by cleaning up the mess that you made, which is something that I touched up on the video earlier, where I was like using my off days, which off day is a day where I don't make money and I don't require to make money, to progress the work that I need to do further. And well, it's kind of guys what I'm doing at the moment, where it's right now I need to make money, so I'm sitting here and I'm working, like I'm really hustling. But once the money's made, I'll have a couple of days to focus and figure out what my next moves are gonna be whenever I need the money again. So whenever there's money needed, it's a work day. Whenever money is okay and we can focus on planning, it's an off day. And you always use your off days or your safe time, your safe space, to focus on the next step. So you obviously are going to have to clean up so you can go to your next detail. So during that safe time, you go ahead and just get cleaned up and make sure you don't have to worry about the time, okay? The last thing you want to do is to sit there, blow dry the car off, dry it all the way, maybe even charge the customer, and then you have to pick everything up. Man, you could have just picked up before you finished the vehicle and just told the client you were ready by the time that you were finished drying it. You got paid, got your vehicle collected, and just took off, and you would have been totally A-okay. But yeah, that was number 5, cleaning up during space and time. Which is number 6, This is probably the question that I see the most often because people understand the importance of chemical and product choice is buying the right equipment and buying the proper chemicals. Guys, you do not understand how much time those two things saved. If you know what you are doing, you can save an eternity, damn near, when it comes to detailing. Because there's certain products that will literally, you can sit there and you can hammer away at the vehicle, you can hammer away whatever they're supposed to do for ages and they won't ever do anything. And there's other products at the same moment that they touch a piece of like a freaking paint job, it's like they brought it back to life. And it's like that paint was dead and now it's alive. And it doesn't necessarily just have to do with polishes and compounds and stuff like that, but it also has to do with bug and tar removers, that things of that sense, degreasers, because they work at different intensities, right? And I think there can be like a whole video over sourcing your chemicals, which I think I'm going to end up doing based on the base chemicals that I feel any detailer needs to be able to handle or manage with them before they start getting into the high upselling systems. Because I feel like there is one niche environment as a detailer that you can target where it's like the problem solving niche to those people that don't know how to solve a problem, and you're like the guy that solves the problems that people don't know how to solve. And that guy gets, the oil cleanups from the carpets. They get maybe crime scene vehicles. I've seen some of those before. They get the biohazard stuff. They get the food spills. They get the rat infestations, which, like I said before, it was a biohazard. But yeah, I mean, having product knowledge can make you a very, very powerful force to be reckoned with. And I feel like I have not only product knowledge, but I have market knowledge. Because a lot of detailers, what they'll do is they'll find one product and they'll just hone in on that. But to me, I went further than that, and I was like, okay, what do all the best detailing products, all the best detailing brands market like? What do they process? What do their products contain? Stuff like that. And I came to a couple of conclusions, which, like I said before, I probably included a separate video. I have to make sure that this video didn't just get cut off. I hope that it didn't, but I'm just gonna finish because the title of the video does say 6 things that help me, speed up my detailing process. But I do have a 7th one that might be pretty obvious, but that's going to probably blow a couple of different people away. And I will do an more in-depth video about each of these steps, just like I will do a more in-depth video about each of the things that I listed on the previous video that I talked about. And then the course is going to be a deep dive on actual application, okay? But yeah, ready for your bonus? Okay, here we go. Add a partner, okay? Adding a second person to detail with you who is at the same level as you does not necessarily mean you cut the time in half. You might cut the time down by 2/3 actually, if you guys actually know how to bounce off of each other. And the reason for this is because if they already know what you're going to do next after you're done with what you're doing, they can start it for you, or they can figure out a way to make it to where you don't have to do the prep work before you go and start it. So if they save you the time on prep work, that means that they're not just helping you do the work faster, which means actually doing the work, but they're making you reduce the time that you're prepping. And if you've ever studied gross revenue or like net and anything like that, then you understand that in order to actually increase the percentage that you get to take home, your percentage income, your actual revenue whenever you take home, in order to increase that, the only 2 ways to do are to reduce cost and to increase value, can increase price. And in this case, you have to look at it as if I reduce the amount of time. Sorry, I'm kind of having a brain fart here. If you reduce the amount of time that you have to spend on prepping, then you increase the amount of time that you can spend somewhere else. Does that make sense? So now you reduce the cost and you increase the price. So you charge more. You get to free up more time. You're basically paying yourself the time at this point though. You're not paying anybody else, you're paying yourself this extra time. So you increase that price by making sure that you can provide more value within a smaller time frame. I guess that one's a little more complicated. That's why it was a bonus, because I figured that it was going to be a little more hard to grasp for most people. But yeah, I just want to sit down and shoot this video real quick. Got a couple other things that I need to take care of, but I'm gonna start doing editing on the videos. I gotta get another YouTube channel up and running, and then I gotta go and invite more people to the Facebook group and start sharing, excuse me, sharing a lot more content on there, because I want that to be somewhere where people can come ask about products, where people can come get resources and can get directed to each other. But at the same time, I'm sorry, my Mexican keeps coming out. I'm talking a little bit too fast. At the same time, I want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable going in there and requesting information, but I want everybody to go in there and ask for professional information. Like, I don't want anybody asking newbie questions there. I feel like anybody who ends up at the Facebook group later on down the road should be somebody who has already at least gone through all my YouTube videos and reverse engineered everything that I have to say, or somebody that has gone through a detailing course and they have all this information in place. And maybe all they're trying to do is just establish better systems. They're trying to maybe figure out some contracts, figure out, get investment deals. Because I want to work with a lot of investors within the group. Figure a lot of people that are going to end up inside this group are going to be really high value individuals within the detailing community. And I don't want to make it easy access to anybody who doesn't go through the work and who doesn't actually put in the effort. So yeah, thank you guys for watching one more time. This has been the Modern Detailer's Handbook, a guide to speed up the detailing process. Thank you for checking it out, and just look forward to the next one. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.